Hey y'all, it's Heel Heat time.
Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles and this is our Ring of Honor show for the week. Let's jump right into it. First match of the night was actually a pretty solid match. Probably could have been a main event on any other night. Could be argued it should have been the main event this night. We had Roderick Strong versus Tommaso Ciampa in a very solid match. Both these guys meshed together very well. Kind of cool to see Strong step away from the feud he's had with Cedric Alexander and Ciampa away from the Jay Lethal feud a bit. See them wrestle some other competition. Towards the end of the match, we see Cedric come out and get involved a little bit, costing Strong the match, causing the win for Ciampa. Strong calls Cedric back to the ring. Cedric gets the upper hand on him afterwards, thus showing the future of Ring of Honor setting up against the past and present of Ring of Honor. I think Cedric Alexander is a future world champion, and it's only a matter of time before he becomes it there. Which this was a great match, great opener. Like I said, it could have been the main event for the show. Next up, we have the Romantic Touch versus the Last Real Man, Silas Young. I thought this was a cool match. I enjoy Silas Young. I don't know how much longer they could keep him towards the bottom of the card or wrestling guys towards the bottom of the card. His character, his ring style, his promos, his capabilities are all deserving higher on the card placing. To me, this was a match that was there just to show off Silas Young. I think he's a great talent. Much like I said with Cedric Alexander, I could easily see him being a future Ring of Honor World Champion, if not a television champion going forward. I think he's great in the ring. Romantic Touch, I do enjoy. I think he has his place in Ring of Honor. There are people say, Ring of Honor is this and that, but there's always been that place for comedy there. They may not emphasize it as much, but we had guys like Delirious, El Generico to an extent, the guys in Special K. There's always been some form of comedy on the show. Dunn and Marcos, the Ring Crew Express, so he has his spot. He's a solid wrestler, so it keeps him on the show, and I thought it was a good match. Next up, we had the Fish Tank. Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly talking about their match coming up with the Young Bucks, saying that they didn't have enough time for their guest Tom Selleck. I think it's cool. I think it's a neat little interesting segment. I think they're one of the best tag teams in the world. I thoroughly enjoy their segments, and I thoroughly enjoy what they do. Nice little filler, and we find out next week that we'll have a live Fish Tank with them in the ring. Coming off of that, we had Corey Hollis versus Jimmy Jacobs, who's flanked by Adam Page, and a new member to the decade, Tadarius Thomas. A little bit surprising, a little bit unexplained as to why he's there. They tried to get word from him from ringside. He didn't really say anything. I thought this was a solid match. Jimmy Jacobs picks up the win. I like what they're doing, bringing some more people into the decade, Tadarius Thomas and Adam Page, to learn from the older wrestlers, the Jimmy Jacobs, BJ Whitmer, and Roderick Strong. I hope that they don't go too crazy and make this a 15-person faction in a 20-person roster. But I like it. I think eventually one of these two will break out and fight against the decade, or maybe both will break out and fight against the decade for being mistreated. But either way, I think it's cool. I like that they're bringing the young kids into it, giving them a spot on the card, giving them a gimmick to work with. I think it'll help them out. It can only help out guys like Tadarius Thomas and Adam Page being around guys like BJ Whitmer, Jimmy Jacobs, and Roderick Strong. Now, what they do with that opportunity is up to them. If they take the opportunity to pick these guys' brains and see, what works in Ring of Honor, what works, how can they become better wrestlers, then it's fabulous for them. If they don't, then shame on them. It's something that I mentioned. I co-guest hosted a friend of mine's podcast called Live from the Armory. It's a wonderful podcast. Go seek it out on iTunes. Also, it's on Blog Talk Radio, and there's links all over the place. Now, two of my friends host this, Bunkhouse Bob and the lovely Laura. So I jumped on because Bunkhouse Bob had prior commitments one night. So I came on to help. That night, the guest was Johnny Yuma. And this is where it's going to tie in, folks. In speaking with Johnny Yuma, we asked him about when Paul Bearer, a.k.a. Percy Pringle, was on Championship Wrestling from Hollywood with him. And he said he built a friendship with him and he would pick his brain. And he couldn't understand how other wrestlers on the roster weren't begging to learn from this guy. Kind of like what I'm seeing here. Tadarius and Paige, if they don't learn from these veterans, then they're blowing an opportunity. I mean, there's no ifs or buts about it. When you're that young in the business, you need to learn from the guys that have paved the way. Guys like Carino even, guys like AJ Styles that are on the roster, guys like Chris Hero. I mean, guys that have done where you want to go, basically. So I think it's a good opportunity for them. It's theirs for the taking. Now, last but not least, we have the main event of the night. Michael Elgin versus Rocky Romero. Rocky Romero's mainly a New Japan wrestler in his time splitter team with Alex Kozlov. We're seeing that Elgin wants to go for the New Japan World title, IGWP title, or whatever it is. I'm sorry if I'm butchering that all the way. Romero is a guy that's been in and out of Ring of Honor and always has been put on solid matches. Since joining with Kozlov, his character, his personality has come out more than it ever had. I think it's great. I think he's doing excellent work. Him versus Elgin was a very solid match. Puts over Elgin solid. Elgin picks up the win as a solid contender for the New Japan title, for the Ring of Honor title, or for whatever title he wants to defend for, in my opinion. But all in all, a solid show, and we're going to go right into our ratings. Now, if you've seen the show before, you know we have a 1 to 5 scale. 5 being the best, 1 being the worst. I'm going to give this show a solid 5. There wasn't anything I didn't like on the show. I thought there was some great setups to further feuds. I thought there was some great, interesting developments within the decade. The fish tank segment, always funny. Always interesting. The 4 matches that we've seen were all good. Elgin and Romero hit on all cylinders. Strong versus Ciampa hit on all cylinders. I mean, everything about this was very enjoyable. A very solid episode of Ring of Honor Wrestling. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I give it a 5. Basically, that's all I have to say about that. My name is George Coles, and this has been another episode of Heel Heat.